topic of your mission: ethical leadership, community engagement, cultural competence. As an international student in the United States, I feel like it's rather my responsibility to especially talk about the cultural competence pillar. So, what does it mean to be culturally competent? Why do you have to care about the exotic other, the weird outsider? The United States is one of the most influential countries in the world. Some of you may never go outside the country. Many people are learning your language, English now. So, why do we have to make the effort, take our time, and leave our comfort zone to understand someone we may never come to see? It's okay, they'll come to us, right? Well, no. Powerful societies, including the United States, have eradicated thousands of cultures and silenced millions of voices. I'm majoring in anthropology, so today I'd like to share with you how some cultures have been eradicated, what made that possible, and why we have to care about other cultures. Hopefully, by the end of my speech, you have another idea about the cultural competence pillar. So the story of how some cultures have been eradicated starts with the ambition and ignorance, which many times came from the Western societies. Powerful societies in the last decades, such as Spain, Britain, and many more, invaded and controlled people's lands for their own benefits, a process often called imperialism and colonialism. But how exactly was that possible? It is not that the Spanish was superior to the native people. Their case was made through the use of coercive power and luck. In 1992, Jared Diamond, a historian and geography professor at UCLA, stated in his article, The Era of Disease, that 95% of the native population was killed, and the biggest attribution goes to the diseases brought by the Europeans, not the Europeans themselves. There's also evidence that shows that colonizers weaponized smallpox in order to contaminate native people. In accordance with Patrick Keeger in his article, the colonists gave the infected blanket to the North Americans as biological warfare, written in January 15th of 2019. Moreover, in order to prevent revolts and make it easier to control their minds, the colonizers often limited traditional cultures and languages. Wade Davis, an anthropologist, told the story about the Kiowas, the North American Indians, in his book, The Wade Finders, written in 2009. The Kiowas was vanished along with the plains ecosystem. According to the book, Theodore Roosevelt said, "This great continent could not have been kept as nothing, but a game preserved for squalid savages." How could people from such powerful societies have done such terrible things without feeling bad? The key is ethnocentrism. According to Merriam-Webster update in 2019, ethnocentrism is the attitude of one's culture, ethnicity, or nationality being superior to others. We all have ethnocentrism to some extent. However, sometimes that can work as a moral push or a rational justification. Genocide, the act of killing people, and ethnocide, the act of killing culture, was justified based on the idea of improving the genetic pool of humanity. The most infamous example is that of Nazi Germany. Moreover, many native people were separated from their families and sent to boarding schools. Manish Jain, the coordinating girlfriend of Sheikh Shantar, told in the movie Schooling the World, made in 2010, that the excuse was that white people were doing a favor by educating those savages and making them human. This story did not end there. Ethnocide is not an event in the past, it's an ongoing process. Many times we cannot simply see it. Globalization is now taking a new form of imperialism. Industrialization is destroying the environment which supported people's lands and cultures. What is claimed to be universal human rights is often biased in Western philosophies and take oppressive form toward local cultures. For example, there is the Muslim veiling. Rebecca Tong, a journalist at Washington Post, said in August 16th of 2018 in her article, "From France to Denmark, bans of full-face Muslim veils are spreading across Europe," that 6 countries in Europe have banned full-face veilings nationwide. For some Muslim women, this can be a cultural insult or offense because veiling is part of their identity. And the worst myth is that all these threats are often carried out with good intentions without fully understanding the consequences. So many cultures have been disappearing. But it's not through a natural process. It's not a normal extinction. It is caused by us, people who believe that are from developed societies. How do you feel about it? Shocked? Overwhelmed? If you're feeling this way, it is because you subconsciously understand what I'm going to talk about next. I have 3 claims. My first claim is that all cultures are equally valuable. They are all unique responses to the natural selection process. For example, I learned about the Kang people by reading an article, Eating Christmas in Kalahari, written by anthropologist Richard Lee in 1969. The Kang people, instead of appreciating or praising the hunter who hunted the biggest animal, they humiliate a person so that he won't feel he's greater than the others. The Kang people live in small societies and they share everything. They do hunting, so today you can be the greatest hunter, but today you can be starving to death. You never know. So they don't humiliate each other because they are mean, but because they understand human nature and know how to control it. My second claim is that other cultures can help us solve environmental psychological problems. Peter Baham, a qualified journalist, stated in his article, What the Amazon Rainforest Tells About Globalization, in November 8th of 2018, that 20% of the Amazon rainforest has shrunk due to deforestation in the last decades. However, there is evidence that shows that Amazon once supported millions of people living inside there without destroying the ecosystem. This suggests how well indigenous people are at managing their environment, and I think there's much we can learn from that, from their methods. In addition, indigenous wisdom can help us with our psychological balance. Take yoga, for instance. Yoga was originally a Hindu spiritual exercise, now worldwide accepted as a way to reduce stress. Lastly, and my last important point is that we need other cultures because they determine who we are, both as a human species and a cultural group among ourselves. Human is a flexible species which can adapt to various environments without changing much of their genetic code. So basically, our cultural diversity is what makes us so human-like. In addition, it is by comparing with others that we recognize our uniqueness and specialty and want to protect and improve that even more. We need a mirror to see our faces. We need others to identify ourselves. So what I'm presenting to you today is not the whole story. It is biased on one side, but I'm especially presenting this side because it's the one that we usually don't pay attention to, however important. I talk about the ethnocide led by imperialism and colonialism, the role ethnocentrism played in that process, and why we have to care about other cultures. All cultures are equally valuable outcomes. They help us solve the problems the world is facing today, and they are part of our identity as humans. Now, how would you respond to the question I posed in the beginning? What is to be culturally competent, and why does it matter? Thank you.